Sunyavadi paschatya deshatarine. We'll do it one more time together. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashali Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama little louder.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govi, Govi, Govi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Gopal and Radha, please come here.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Little louder.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
From your heart, from your heart.
Hare Rama,
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Shankaranand Prabhu ki jai. I'm sure all of you are already familiar with Prabhuji, but Prabhuji needs no introduction in most places, but for the benefit of everyone, we're going to face this side. All Matajis will be on this side, Prabhus will be on that side. We will scoot as forward as possible. As you all settle down, I'll quickly mention His Grace Shankaranand Prabhu is in Krishna consciousness for more than 30, close to maybe 40 years or so. 40 years or so? 35 years, okay. As old as some of us are. So Prabhuji has been connected to the ISKCON temple in Chowpatty, and he got trained as a brahmachari there for many years. Served Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj personally for many years. He is one of his dear disciples. And Prabhu served in various capacities around the world. But recently, Prabhuji and Mataji and their two kids, they are staying in Sacramento. Amazing family with so many wonderful services. I think some of us had the good fortune of going to the Sacramento temple recently. So this is all, they were able to bring together their entire congregation and as an offering build a beautiful temple there. So we are very happy and grateful that Prabhuji was able to find some time to enliven all of us with Krishna Katha. And today's topic is about Srila Prabhupada. So this, in our sequence of course, Srila Prabhupada's topic has come up, and somehow Prabhupada sent us Shankaranand Prabhu to speak his glories. So without any further ado, let us welcome Shankaranand Prabhu by loudly chanting Haribol Sri Krishna. I should also mention that Prabhuji is one of my favorite question and answer speaker. So if you have, because his knowledge is very vast. He has depth in bhakti literature. All the books that you see here, Prabhuji probably read all of them, maybe multiple times. But he's also familiar with Vastu Shastra and so many other things, astrology. So if you have any questions, here is one person who you will probably have the best chance of giving satisfactory answer. The Mataji is sitting in the back. Can I request all of you to come in the front if possible? If you like us.
जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी Abhayachanavrinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pariyuchkanacharya Shtotarshad Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gaura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swakarantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahavana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahavana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Vishnu He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurani Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vacha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radharani Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Amrita Maharji, for opening your doors to all the devotees to come here. Weeks after weeks, you have been serving them. It is so wonderful. Along with both the boys, Gopal.
Kids classes.
Kids class. So today, Ram Jagannath Prabhu wanted all of you to understand and know about Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada actually is the personality who created a revolution on the spiritual demography of this whole planet. If you see in 1950s and 60s, spirituality was practically non-existent. Forget about the other parts of the world. Even in India, it had deteriorated so much. Nowadays, you see people rushing towards the temples, right? Especially after COVID time, a lot of people going to temples. Temples are especially filled with youngsters. I see so many, young children here, right? And of course, you all also young men and young women. Right? But especially in 50s and 60s, even in India, people are feeling ashamed of, being recognized as some spiritual personality. It was considered like very primitive. Of course, partly because of propaganda, the demonic propaganda which happens from time to time. So, the spirituality was considered something very primitive. In fact, from the early part of previous century, people used to look at Vaishnavas or devotees as parasites. If somebody would be known as Vaishnava, people would be just looking it down at them. You're a Vaishnava? What? It's just like, in today's day and age, you look at somebody, oh, you went to jail, you are a prisoner? Something like that. So people used to look down at Vaishnavism or somebody who's interested in spirituality. And Srila Prabhupada, he appeared in this world in 1896. But much before his appearance, much before his appearance, there was prediction about his appearance. So, this is a beautiful quote from Chaitanya Mangal. It says, Yadi papi chhadi dharma dura deshe yaad, mona senapati bhakta yai betahai. If some sinful people escape and give up religious principles, goes too far off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna. So, the deterioration of religious principles happens in this world in a way that people somehow they become distant and disconnected. And of course, some demonic forces become instrumental in that. Unfortunately, we are not taught all that history. That part is removed from the books of history. But if you read, unfortunately, we were never taught that part of history, especially even in India. The British actually acted instrumental in destroying all the cultures, not only in India, but every part of the world. If you read the history of different countries, they practically went and destroyed the culture and encouraged everyone to simply be what we call in our Sanskrit terminology as Mlecha and Yavana civilization. Mlecha means dirty, unclean, whose habits are unclean and whose lifestyle is unclean and whose heart is also unclean. Basically teaching everyone how to eat, sleep, engage more and more in sensual activities and fight, quarrel with each other on slightest provocation. That's what Mlecha civilization is. And Yavana means a person who is simply interested in filling his belly by doing violence to others. That's Yavana. That means practically for eating purpose, they kill innocent animals and birds, aquatics. That's Yavana. So, people, when they become disconnected from their families, or traditions, then it's natural that they imbibe whatever they are taught. So British, that's what they did. They actually disconnected people from, especially if you see Fiji and all these places, South African places, they brought so many people from different parts of India, right? And disconnected them from their land. They tried that also in India. Tremendously they tried. But because there were people who sacrificed their lives to maintain that culture. Of course, nowadays, a lot of movies are coming up in India to depict that, how many people actually sacrifice their lives. True history is coming up. Right? That how people actually sacrifice their life to keep the culture intact, at least in India. It's very interesting, couple of years ago, somebody was telling me, and those who visit some China, right? They were actually telling me some culture about China. People generally think China means people eat anything and everything, right? That's what people generally have idea, and they think they have been like this forever. But no, even if you see, maybe 70 or 80 years ago, maybe at the most, I think 100 years ago, Chinese people, they used to be Buddhist, and they used to be strictly vegetarian. There was no question of eating anything non-veg. No. But like all other places, British were ruling China as well. So British created artificial famine there. Artificial famine means no food for people to eat. Now, I don't know how many of you know, but they did that in India also, especially in Kolkata, they did that. If you want to go and look into the history, there are Wikipedia pages filled with that, with pictures. How they created artificial famine in Bengal, and some few million people died in that. Because of starvation, food. Okay. But in China, people, people want to survive, right? Nobody wants to die. In Bengal, people died. They did not struggle. They died. If that happens here in the US, people will be killing each other and plundering from each other, right? But people who know the value of life, they will die, but they won't do anything immoral. Right? So people in India, because they had some strong moral values, they died, but they didn't do anything, irreligious or immoral. But in China, people wanted to survive. So they entered into the forest, and because hunger is such a strong feeling, so they started grabbing anything they could actually catch and start eating. And that's how they developed the habit of eating practically anything. So they were forced to become yavanas, meat eaters. So somehow the people get disconnected from civilization, from their roots. So it says, Chaitanya Mangal says, whenever such things happen, whenever the people become disconnected from Dharma for any reason, whether they migrate from the country, like British migrated a lot of Indians to Fijian and different places, or some demonic government, they create some principle, or they create some situations where people become distant from religion. Then Krishna sends some of his powerful servants to revive, to bring that revolution again. So, based on that prediction, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he, in early part of previous century, he actually predicted, soon there will be a time when chanting of Krishna's name will be heard in England, France, Russia, and Germany and America. Bhaktivinoda Thakur left this world in 1914, if I'm not wrong. This is prediction before that. He made this prediction. That soon there will be time when chanting of Krishna's name will be heard in England, France, Russia, Germany, and America. So he knew. And this prediction was prevalent a lot in Vaishnava cultures. People in even South Indian Vaishnava cultures, they knew this prediction. Because there was one Alvar at the beginning of Kali Yuga who had also predicted similar thing. So we'll come to that a little later. Can you go to the next one? That very soon the unparalleled path of Harinam Sankirtan will be propagated all over the world. Oh, for that day when the fortunate English, French, Russian, German and American people will take up banners, mridangas, kartal and raise kirtan through their streets and towns. When will that day come? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew this, that people in the streets of different countries will be chanting the names of Krishna. So, since this topic has come, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted a personality will soon appear to preach the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and move unrestrictedly over the whole world with his message. So, interestingly, this is the prediction in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a very prominent Vaishnava Acharya in our Sampradaya. So, his son, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's son was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was a spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur established 64 Gaudiya Maths all over India. And this happened during early part of previous century. So somewhere between 1910 to 1936. So the 1936, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur departed from this world. So between that period, he established 64 temples all over India. And all his followers knew this prediction, that soon a personality will appear who will take the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world, different countries. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, during his lifetime, he sent some of his disciples to Europe, especially England, and they tried. But they were utterly disappointed. Srila Prabhupada used to quote this example that one of his godbrother, one of the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, he went to England. So one of the top, British officer, he asked Srila, disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, can you make me Brahman? He was the Englishman, right? So Englishman means they drink liquor, they eat meat, they have extramarital affairs, very common thing, at least for those people it was a very common thing. And gambling, also very common. So this disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur told him, yes, I can make you Brahman. Brahman is not by birth. This caste system that people generally have the idea, if you are born in Brahman, you become Brahman. No. Krishna says clearly, Chatur Varnya Maya Srishna Guna Karma Vibhavish. I have divided society into 4 varnas and 4 ashrama based on qualities a person has and activities a person takes to. So it's based on the qualities and activities you do. Nothing to do with your birth. Birth is just a facility. If a person is born in doctor family, his parents are doctor, there's a good possibility that person can become doctor, right? But not necessarily that he will become or she will become doctor, right? He has a lot of facility to become doctor. So similarly, if somebody is born in Brahmin family, that means he has a good opportunity to become Brahmin. Somebody born in Kshatriya family has a good opportunity to become a Kshatriya, but not necessary. Okay. So this disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, he told him, yes, I can make you Brahmin, but you have to follow some principles. The principles are no meat eating, Brahmanas don't eat meat, no gambling, no intoxication, you cannot drink liquor or any form of intoxication, and no sex outside of marriage, no illicit sex. And he said, impossible. So This was, in 30s, early 30s, late 20s and early 30s. And Srila Bhakti Thakur disciples became disappointed and they came back they couldn't inspire anyone. So, just imagine, everybody knew this, that somebody tried to teach the principles of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam outside India, but they were utterly disappointed. So this was known to all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So, of course, we'll come to Srila Prabhupada's birth a little later, but this was somewhere in 40s. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada at that time was in household life. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada, he had his home, and one of his godbrother, his name was Gaur Govind Shastri. He was a disciple of Srila Bhakti Thakur. Okay. So Gaur Govind Shastri, he was a great scholar. He was actually a brahmachari in the brahmachari ashram of Srila Bhakti Thakur. And when Srila Bhakti Thakur disappeared in 1936, so there were a lot of quarrels, in the Gaudiya Mutt. So he couldn't handle the madness, so he left. He got married. He went and did some, education. He actually did PhD from the Varanasi in Sanskrit, and then he became a Sanskrit professor. So he used to teach Sanskrit. So Srila Prabhupada, when he was in household life, he rented Prabhupada had 2 stories, home that time. So he rented Prabhupada's lower portion of his home for teaching Sanskrit. So Srila Prabhupada used to live upstairs, and he used to, Gaur Govind Shastri used to teach Sanskrit to his students in the lower level. So one day when Srila Prabhupada came back, from his work, so Gaur Govind Shastri was there and he said, Abhay Babu, Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the Russians, we can go to previous slide too. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said that the English, French, German, Russians, Prussians, American, they will all be chanting Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, and he was, making this statement in a kind of a question mark. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, English, French, Russian, they will chant Hare Krishna, like a question mark, right? So Srila Prabhupada said, why, you have a doubt? No, how can I have a doubt? Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, how can I have doubt in words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? But how? How will it happen? So he was having doubt, that how is this will happen, because somebody already tried and failed. So Srila Prabhupada, he did not respond. He just started climbing the staircase and he stopped. And he turned back and he said, some foolish disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur who surrendered to him will make it happen. Okay. Now just imagine, if somebody who is going to make the whole world chant Hare Krishna, how can that person be foolish? Srila Prabhupada said, a foolish disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur who surrendered to him will make it happen. Now, of course, you don't call others foolish, right? But Srila Prabhupada knew who's going to do it. So Srila Prabhupada, then he turned back and started climbing up. And Gaur Govind Shastri, he was a learned scholar. So, he was trying to absorb what Srila Prabhupada said that time. He was trying to understand the statement. Some foolish disciple? How can a foolish disciple do this? So, Prabhupada climbed more up, and when he reached on the first floor, he turned back and again he said, not you. And the you word he used in Bengali is plural you. That means not he was telling Gaur Govind Shastri alone, but he said, you all. And then Srila Prabhupada went. And this became kind of a tremendous kind of a puzzling for Gaur Govind Shastri. He was thinking, Abhay Babu said, not you all. If we not that me, of course, I am not going to do it. He was very sure that I can do it. But he said, you all. That means, is he going to do it? And then he started thinking, Abhay Babu, but he's in household life. He has so many worldly concerns, he's so much entangled in household life. He will do it? No, I don't think so. But he said, that's what he said. Because he was a scholar, right? Grammatical, he was very good in Sanskrit grammar, so he could understand. Prabhupada said, some foolish disciple who surrendered to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he will make it happen. And not you. That means not you all. That means he's going to do it. So this was the experience Srila Gauranga Shastri had, and he, for many years, this was actually a puzzling thing in his mind. Of course, later on, he moved to a different place, and Srila Prabhupada, he continued his household life, and then Srila Prabhupada eventually took sannyas, and he traveled to, then he established this ISKCON society. And this Gauranga Shastri, he was living in, I believe, in Cuttack. So, one day he saw some white Americans, shaved head, shikha, and they were distributing books on the streets of Cuttack. And Gauranga Shastri was going into a rickshaw. So, he saw white people with tilak, Urdu Pandit tilak, and having shikha, and wearing dhoti kurta, and completely shaven head, only with shikha. He got shock of his life. Wow! What Bhaktivinoda Thakur says is actually happening. He jumped from the rickshaw and he went right in the middle of the road. He started talking with these, actually this was one of Prabhupada's disciples, Tejas Prabhu. So he caught him. Hey, who are you? Who are you? Tejas Prabhu, he was American, so in his typical accent he said, I am disciple of Om Vishnupad Ashtotarashat Shri Srimad A. Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And he said, and the way he said Prabhupada is Prabhupada. So he couldn't understand. Prabhupada? What is that? So he was having difficulty understanding even the name A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So he couldn't understand what the name he's talking about. So Tejas Prabhu took out BTG magazine, and in those days BTG magazine used to have on the front page, on the cover page, used to have Prabhupada's picture in a circle. So he showed this. He says, Abhay Babu, he did it. Oh, he did it. He said that he will do it. So he got so inspired, and this was happening all in the middle of the road, you can imagine. The whole traffic was there, and people are looking what's going on, right? So, Srila Prabhupada actually made this happen. It was amazing for many of the disciples of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur that how Srila Prabhupada did it, but Srila Prabhupada made that happen. And it didn't happen just overnight. If you really want to see, or if you want to learn how this happened, of course we'll try to discuss a little bit today, but you have to read Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita with a lot of details. The struggle that he went through. His whole life was a preparation to actually achieve this. So Srila Prabhupada, you can go to the next one. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he actually also predicted Gaurasundar will in the fullness of time raise up fit preachers in every part of the world, and numbers amply sufficient for his purpose. That day is not far distant when the priceless volume spent by Thakur Bhaktivinoda will be reverently translated by the recipients of his grace into all the languages of the world. And now, the same message of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the form of Srila Prabhupada's, commentaries on Gita, Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita is actually being translated in every language of the world. So Srila Prabhupada, he appeared on the day of Nandotsav, which is the next day of Krishna Janmashtami, in 1896, September 1st, around 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon time. He appeared in the city of Kolkata. In those days it was Calcutta, it was Kolkata. And he appeared as the son of Gaur Mohan Dey and his wife, Rajni Devi. And they named him Abhay Charan. Dey was their last name. The Bengalis, they have their last name as Dey. So they named him Abhay Charan, which literally means, Abhay means fearless and Charan means feet. So literally refers to the lotus feet of Krishna, which bestow fearlessness. So they named him as Abhay Charan. So Gaur Mohan, the father of Srila Prabhupada, he was actually, Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the, I think, preface of his Krishna book, that his father was actually a pure devotee. A pure devotee means a person who doesn't have any worldly aspirations. He may be living a worldly life, maybe having wife, children, and a business. So Gaur Mohan was actually a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned his father he was a cloth merchant. And cloth merchant, he had a cloth shop. But he was very conscious of all the living entities, who are actually in his shop also. And cloth shop means, a lot of rats come. And if the rats eat your cloth, you have tremendous loss, right? So, what the modern people do? They put the rat poison, right? Kill the rats so that they don't come here. But God one day, he would actually make the balls from the wheat flour and keep for the rats. And rats would never eat his cloth. They would eat it. He was providing food to them also, because if they're living, if they're coming in this place, they need to be provided food as well. This is the pure devotee who has mercy and compassion for all living beings. Of course, if you can maintain cleanliness and you don't invite the rats, it's best. But if somehow the rats come, you just don't feed them poison and kill them. So, when Srila Prabhupada, he actually was raised in Krishna consciousness by Gaur Mohan Dey, the similar, devotional fervor, because Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned himself, as a child, when he was 6 years old, he insisted his father that he wanted to, because he had heard about Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. He never went to Rath Yatra, but he had heard about Rath Yatra in Jagannath. So he wanted to organize Rath Yatra. You see, in children you can see what inclination they have in childhood. Based on that you can predict their future. So Srila Prabhupada, even as a child, he was very much interested in having Jagannath Rath Yatra. And now, by his mercy, we have Rath Yatras all over the world, in different cities. Practically every major city of the world has Rath Yatra, which is actually started by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So, he organized 8 days festival as a child. It was Rath Yatra festival along one of the roads called Harrison Roads. And all the children and people of the local, surroundings, surroundings, they actually participated in this festival. So Srila Prabhupada's father, seeing his intense desire, actually brought him a small cart. And Srila Prabhupada would organize little festivals in his neighborhood. Even his small other children who were actually his playmates, they would also participate. So they all considered Srila Prabhupada as a leader. So Srila Prabhupada was born in 1896, when he was 20 years old, 1916, he entered into the Scottish church. Now this was the time when, British were actually trying to destroy the cultural education. This is approximately the same time when not only in India but all over the world, including in US used to have much more, sober and better education system where people were not, put into a machinery to become dump a lot of information in them and come out with a useless piece of paper certificate, which is not good even for getting your job nowadays. So this just imagine, nothing comes automatically. It's not that this evolution has come automatically. Somebody planned. You actually find in the history of America, if you want to really go into the history, you'll find the history. There was one particular family, Rockefeller family. They actually wanted to create the education system where people, actually the leader of Rockefeller family, that time he made a statement, in 1920s, he made a statement. He said, I want to modify the education system where people, when they come out from education, they become workers and not the thinkers. Because people used to think education means you're a thoughtful person. You challenge. If anything you see inappropriate, you challenge. But his vision was, I want people who come out of education system should become workers. That means they simply do whatever they are told, not the thinkers. So that's what they were trying to do even in India. They were trying to bring the church, college, and it was considered one of the most prestigious colleges in India at that time. So Srila Prabhupada, he also joined that college, but he didn't complete the education. Of course, he dropped out. He almost completed the education, but he didn't take any certificate. He did just to follow the, Gandhi's, support, Gandhi's movement. He actually refused to take any certification from them. But in 1920, when he was around 24 years old, his father got him married to a girl named Radharani. So that time Srila Prabhupada, he also started working in Bose Laboratory, which was actually medicines company. It was actually a pharmaceutical company, which was owned by one of the Bengali gentlemen, who was friend to Srila Prabhupada, Dr. Bose. Go to next. So Srila Prabhupada, when he joined the Scottish Church, he refused to accept the certificates from the college to protest. And after his friend, Dr. Bose, made him the manager in the chemical company, and of course, Srila Prabhupada, he started living with his wife, and he also had soon, I'm not exactly sure when he had his first child, but can we go to the next one, Prabhu? The most amazing event that happened in Srila Prabhupada's life was in 1922. So just imagine, 1920 he got married, and 1922 this memorable meeting happened between Srila Prabhupada and his spiritual master Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So Srila Prabhupada had one of the friend, as we mentioned that Srila Prabhupada's all his friends used to consider him leaders, right? So Srila Prabhupada's father would actually invite a lot of saintly people to his home for having meal. And Srila Prabhupada had seen those saintly people who would come to his father's home, for having meals. They would go out and smoke ganja. They would smoke chillam and all, So it was considered, sadhus can do that. And that's what actually brought very bad name to the Vaishnava culture. So he had seen all different kinds of sadhus, but he was not really impressed with anyone. So Srila Prabhupada started considering, there are no saintly people nowadays, these are all just what do you call, hypocrites. So all his friends, who were actually of same age, they used to, consider Srila Prabhupada's opinion. They valued it very much. So one of his friends, what is the name of your friend, Prabhu? Narendra Malik.
Okay.
So he pulled Srila Prabhupada one day. He said, I have, come across a very nice saintly person. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, I know all saintly people. I don't want to go. So he was skeptical. I don't want to go. He said, no, you should come. You should come and meet him. Because Narendra Malik wanted to also have confirmation. Because he was thinking he's a great saintly person. So he wanted to have confirmation. Because Abhay Babu says, that means he's, really nice saintly person. So he literally pulled him. And that was at Old Tazan Junction Road in Kolkata in 1922. So he pulled him one day, and as soon as Srila Prabhupada, along with his friend, entered into the presence of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and it was a custom that when you see a saintly person, you offer pranam. So they bow down and offer respects. Before even they could get up offering respects, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur spoke instruction, which actually became the life and soul for Srila Prabhupada. He said, you are educated young men, why don't you preach Lord Krishna's message throughout the whole world, especially to English speaking people? So this was the instruction given by Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur in the very first meeting, when they not even got introduced to each other. Just imagine. They were not even introduced. He's just offering obeisances. Somebody says, okay, this is Abhay Babu is from, this is from. Not even that. As soon as he's offering obeisances, before he gets up, he gets instruction. And Srila Prabhupada really liked this instruction so much. Wow, somebody's talking about preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. Teaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. He never heard from any of the saintly person talking about preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. Because mostly saintly people he met, they were interested in getting some money and filling their belly. That's it. So, Srila Prabhupada and in that meeting actually, he had some arguments with Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. He told Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, when you're talking about teaching this message of Krishna consciousness to the whole world, right? To English speaking people, but who will listen us? We are a country subjugated by British. Nobody cares if you are a slave to others, right? So how do you think that people will take our message seriously? First, we have to support Gandhi's movement and stand for freedom. And when we become free country, then we can try to preach. Then people will value. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur completely refuted that. He said, politically, who's ruling the country? These situations keep changing. Today British is ruling, tomorrow, we know after British went away, nothing changed really much. In fact, things got worse in India, right? Some of the statistics, when British left India, there were only, how many? I had heard, there were hardly, I think, British, before they left India, they had opened, how many, I'm forgetting the number, some 5,000 slaughterhouses to kill the cows in India. And now that number is, you can't even imagine how many slaughterhouses are in India. So, British left, but their legacy continued. The same Mlecha Yavana lifestyle, teaching people same lifestyle continued. Nothing changed. Except that people have that nonsensical idea that we are free now. Nothing changed. So, Bhaktivedanta Thakur actually completely refuted that political situations will keep changing. This message of Lord Chaitanya is urgency. This cannot wait for any political changes to happen. And Srila Prabhupada, he liked that very much. That yes, political situations will keep changing. But we have to push this message through. And then, when he came out with his friend, he told his friend, this was really a nice, saintly person. So Srila Prabhupada, he recalled this exchange with Srila Bhaktivedanta, very first meeting with Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, in many instances to his followers, to his disciples. Can you go to the next one? Can you go to the next one? No? So alright, Srila Prabhupada, then he continued, he actually started his own business also because his idea was, my Guru Maharaj, he's trying to preach this message of Krishna consciousness, that needs a lot of money, right? So he thought, I will start a business, a successful business, and when I have a lot of money, I will actually support this effort of my Guru Maharaj by contributing money. However, he had no support at home. Not something unusual. So, Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned this instance that one time he told his wife, that because his wife actually started drinking tea. Drinking tea is nowadays very common, right? Tea, coffee is very common, but Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned how the tea started in Kolkata. This is also, somebody who was there to witness that, right? So he mentioned that initially when they introduced tea in Bengal, in Kolkata, nobody was interested in drinking tea. So what British did is, they opened many stalls throughout the city of Kolkata. They were distributing tea freely to everyone, anyone wants to drink, but not just free. If you came and drank 1 cup of tea, they used to give 4 annas. 4 annas in 20s was a big amount, substantially big amount. 4 anna means, it used to be 25 paisa, we used to call it, 25 is 4 anna. I remember when I grew up, this is in, 70s. I used to get pocket money 2 to 3 paisas. That was my pocket money, and it could get you some substantial good amount of snacks in your school. And this is 70s. We're talking about 20s. British were giving 4 annas to anyone who came to drink 1 cup of tea. So, people how they are. Oh, I'll get 4 annas. Why not? I'll drink 1 cup of tea. So they started drinking tea. So then the British, when they saw more and people are coming, they reduced from 4 annas to 2 annas. Then 1 anna for every cup of tea. Then they stopped giving you any money. And then a lot of people got addicted, so they started charging money. So that's how they introduced tea in Bengal, and that's how they introduced practically in every part. So, Srila Prabhupada's wife also got addicted to tea. So one time Srila Prabhupada asked him, you want me or tea? And she said tea. That's also common, right? If you ask her why, you want me or something, she'll choose something else only, right? So, of course, this happened right before Srila Prabhupada left home. This was kind of a last trick. Srila Prabhupada was having no cooperation at home. Neither his wife nor his children were interested. So, after the incident, actually, Srila Prabhupada left and took sannyas. His wife said, I don't want you, I want tea. So he said, okay, you keep tea, goodbye. And he left and took sannyas. You can go ahead. So 1922, Srila Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. In 1933, he got initiated from Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur. And he received the name Abhaya Charana Vrinda. So, in this way, Srila Prabhupada from Abhaya Charan became Abhaya Charana Vrinda. So when we say AC, Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Srila Prabhupada, right? This AC stands for Abhaya Charana Ravinda. And Bhakti Vedanta was the title which was given to him later on by his godbrothers. Because Srila Prabhupada used to write articles which would be filled with so much devotional, understanding. So they understood that he is actually so scholarly. He literally Bhakti Vedanta. Bhakti means devotion, and Veda means knowledge, and Anta means ultimate. So he had the ultimate knowledge of Bhakti. So in that way they actually gave him title Bhakti Vedanta. So that's how it became Abhaya Charanavinda Bhakti Vedanta. And of course when Srila Prabhupada took sannyasis are called Swami. So that's how his name is A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami. And Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the title generally the disciples call their spiritual master as Prabhupada. So the disciples started calling him Srila Prabhupada. So therefore we have A.C. that is Abhaya Charanavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Now you understand the meaning of their whole name. So 1936, actually Srila Prabhupada had a lot of conversation with his, through letters with his spiritual master, and he had a couple of meetings also. 1936, Srila Prabhupada received final instruction from his spiritual master in a letter. Actually, before that, he met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur in Vrindavan. On the bank of Radha Kund, he received the similar instruction. Actually, that time there were a lot of quarrels in Gaudiya Math, especially in Kolkata. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur had made a very beautiful temple, marble temple, using marble and granite. But after the temple was built, many of his disciples started fighting, who will have which room. They were all brahmacharis and sannyasis, but they started fighting who will have which room. So, seeing their quarrel, and this was happening right in presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, he actually expressed the desire that he got so fed up seeing the quarrels of his disciples. He thought, I feel I should remove all the marbles and sell it off from the temple and start publishing books. That's what one of the instructions he actually gave to Srila Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. Because you're building temple, people are fighting for the rooms and who will have which facility in their temple. But if you print books, people read the books. If they're fighting for books, let them have the books, But when they read the books, that will change their life, will transform their lives. So, Srila Prabhupada took that instruction also, note of that. If you ever get money, print books. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur actually explained this. He said, the printing press is actually Brihat Mridanga. Brihat Mridanga. Mridanga, we play Mridanga, right? It makes some sound. But the sound is only in our surroundings, right? Maybe you can hear the sound at the most up to 1 block. But when you have printing press, right? And you want to publish the books, especially devotional literature, that can go far and wide. It can cross the country's boundary, and it can transform the lives of people. So therefore it's a Brihat. Brihat means very huge. The bigger the Mridanga, the louder the voice goes everywhere, right? So this Mridanga, you can be heard only in 1 block. But this printing press is a Brihat Mridanga which can actually propagate the message. The sound can go far and wide. And that's what Srila Prabhupada told you. Srila Prabhupada was told by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. If you ever get money, print books. So Srila Prabhupada took note of that. And later on, when Srila Prabhupada established the ISKCON society, he actually established BBT, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which till this day continues to publish immense literature. Of course, Bible and Quran have been distributed, millions and millions of copies, but In last just 65 years, at the time the BBT was established, it has distributed immense literature, not even counted. No. Immense literature all over the world. No. And Srila Prabhupada in 1936, right before the departure of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur from this world, because Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur departed on 31st December 1936 from this world. But right before that, maybe a couple of 2 or 3 weeks before that, on 13th December, Srila Prabhupada received a letter from him. I am fully confident that you can explain in English our thoughts and arguments, and I have very hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher. So this was again reconfirming the very first message he had received from Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur in the very first meeting in 1922. And this was his last instruction also, that present the message of Krishna consciousness in English language. So 1939, Srila Prabhupada wrote Introduction to Bhagavad Gita, that is Gita Upanishad, and he, after reading that introduction to Bhagavad Gita, the Gita Upanishad, he was awarded the title Bhaktivedanta. Because his godbrothers, when they read that article, they actually got very impressed and they gave him title Bhaktivedanta. Go to the next. And in 1944, Srila Prabhupada started publishing Back to Godhead magazine. So you see Back to Godhead nowadays, it was originally started published in 1944. But, well, you get the details in the Prabhupada's Lilamrit, but just to give you a little background, when Srila Prabhupada was starting this Back to Godhead magazine, in those days, paper was a very rare commodity. It was not easily available to anyone and everyone. So Srila Prabhupada had to go through a lot of bureaucracy to get the permission to get the paper to publish Back to Godhead. It wasn't easy to start publishing Back to Godhead magazine. He had to go through a lot of bureaucracy. And before starting ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada actually in 1953 started an organization called League of Devotees. This was, I believe, in Jhansi. And this was kind of an idea that he had in mind to start some worldwide organization where devotees can actually come together and try to do the missionary activities of giving Krishna consciousness to everyone. And Srila Prabhupada used to publish, as we said, and sell himself single-handedly Back to Godhead magazine. Now, we have so many devotees doing distribution of books, right? Especially here in Bay Area, we have so many devotees, right? But Srila Prabhupada used to single-handedly go out and distribute books. And it wasn't easy for Srila Prabhupada to get even a passage to come to US. He took sannyas later on, in 1959, I believe, yes. And he was living in Vrindavan for a few years. He actually prepared the 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam. He wrote actually commentary on the first canto of Bhagavatam in 3 volumes. That was kind of his preparation. So he was preparing throughout his life for this mission that he wanted to present Krishna consciousness in the English language. And 1965, English was not so famous or primary language even in India. But Srila Prabhupada had vision. He had received the instruction from his Guru Maharaj and he had the vision. English is going to become the language. So he continued to push this Krishna consciousness in English language. He prepared 3 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto commentary, and he struggled a lot to get a free passage on a cargo ship to come to US. he had a well-wisher, Sumati Murarji, Mrs. Sumati Murarji, who was actually the owner of a shipping cargo industry, So Srila Prabhupada actually begged her, please let me go. Let me go on. Your Jalduta, your shipping, the cargo goes every month to US, or every few months it goes to US. If one old man goes on that ship, it won't matter much, right? In the cargo ship, it carries so much burden. One old man goes on it, what difference does it make to you? But that Sumati Murarji, she was actually a very gentle lady. She had a lot of affection to Srila Prabhupada. She saw Srila Prabhupada as her fatherly figure. So she was thinking, because she had been to US, so she was thinking US is such a cold country. Especially, most of the parts of US, a lot of cold, right? So she was thinking, it's a cold country. And Srila Prabhupada is an old man. If he goes there, he'll not be able to tolerate cold and he'll probably die and I will be responsible for his death. He's such a nice, saintly person. So as a well-wisher, she was not allowing him to go. No, I cannot allow you. You see, sometimes people out of affection and well-being, they don't just like parents sometimes they don't want children to go into troublesome situation. Right? They restrain them. So she was thinking, oh, he's the elderly person and like my father, how can I let him go? But when Srila Prabhupada would actually go and sit outside her office for hours, just to, convince her. Finally, seeing that he was so determined, she actually gave him, okay, you can go on. And again, getting passport was not so easy. Prabhupada would actually go and sit outside the passport office. Where is my passport? Where is my passport? And nowadays you get the passport in the mail, but in those days it was not an easy thing. Prabhupada would actually go to passport office and get onto the case. How people are, especially in government offices, how the things work. I just share one small instance, before coming to US, I needed my marriage certificate to be, because we had an interview with US consulate, so they said, these documents you have to bring. So one of the document was marriage registration certificate. We never registered marriage in India, right? Who cares for marriage? So I went to, marriage registrar, and said, I need certificate. He said, okay, fill this form. In 15 days, certificate will come to your home in the mail. I said, not 15 days, in 3 days I have an interview. He said, forget it, it's not going to happen. And he turned me away. He said, no, it cannot possible. I went to my wife's uncle's office. He was a custom clear agent. So you can imagine. Right? Custom clear agent means they know. So he said, okay, come with me. We'll get it now only. Not 3 days, you'll get now. So we went. So he called the person. Hey, come here. He needs marriage certificate. Yeah, I told him, he'll come in 15 days. He took out 500 rupees, gave in the hand. I want now. Immediately that person went. And less than 5 minutes, he brought the certificate. He said, just see, name and everything is correct, so I can reprint, I can bring another certificate. If the name and everything is any mistake, spelling mistake, I can give another certificate. So quickly. Right? But Srila Prabhupada, he didn't have any, say, extra money and all to go and spend. He would go and get into the case. Where is my passport? And of course, similarly, he begged from Srimati Murarji, please let me go. It wasn't easy for him to even come to US. And somehow when he got the passage on the cargo ship, he boarded from Kolkata. And his son, one of his son only came to see off Srila Prabhupada. He had no one else. Only his son came to see off him. And Srila Prabhupada had ordered the books, Srimad Bhagavatam books. So he boarded from Kolkata, but the books were not ready. The books were supposed to come from Kochi. So the ship came all the way around and came to Kochi. And Kochi, when it was halted before to go into the Arabic Sea, That's where the books came on the ship. So Prabhupada had the whole trunk full of books. And then he went to US. And on the way to Jaladuta, he had actually 2 major heart attacks. Have you ever seen some clips? Nowadays sometimes people post the clips of the turbulent ocean, the ship is going right. It looks very fearsome. I have traveled in small boats because I used to work in IT field, not IT, as a networking engineer in Mumbai before joining ISKCON. So we had a contract with Indian Navy. So I used to go from Mumbai docks to a naval station, Karanja. So it used to take around 45 minutes ride on the boat. And sometimes I would go in the monsoon season also. Let me tell you, it used to be so fearful situation, even in the monsoon for that 45 minutes ride. And I don't know swimming, I used to be fearful. What if the boat sinks, It used to be really turbulent. Just 45, and this is in the middle of the, Atlantic Ocean, where you don't have any land anywhere around. And 45 minute journey means something happens, they can immediately send some helicopters and all, right? But in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, even if they send helicopter, it will take long time, many hours to reach there. Right? Very fearful situation. And Prabhupada had 2 heart attacks. It wasn't an easy journey. And of course, even after reaching the US, it wasn't easy. He stayed for, I think, a few months in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have anyone of you been there in Butler, Pennsylvania? It's a very small township. It's in Pennsylvania. Srila Prabhupada lived there for a few months. We used to take yatras from Vrindavan every year. It's a very small township. So Prabhupada living there means there was no scope of, preaching or expanding Krishna, because people there were very much rigid to go to only church. They didn't want to listen to anything else. So Srila Prabhupada, after spending 2-3 months, he realized this is not the place. I have to go to a major city. And the only person he knew in US was a person who was living in Butler, Pennsylvania, who had given him a place to stay in his own home. So, he was actually an Indian gentleman, he was married to an American girl. So they were living there, and Srila Prabhupada was living with them. And in that home, because the girl was an American girl, right, they used to eat beef and all kinds of flesh, in the same refrigerator they would keep, and Prabhupada would keep his groceries. It wasn't easy. It was not easy at all. I'll tell you something interesting which happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, which may not be there in Prabhupada Leelamrit. I'm not sure if it's there in Leelamrit or not, but this is what we heard from Prabhupada disciples during that yatra in Pennsylvania. So when Srila Prabhupada came to Butler, Pennsylvania, right, to what is the name of the gentleman? I forgot his name. Prabhupada lived in his home. I'm growing old, looks like, I forgot the name. We went for so many times in yatra, that place. We even went to the home of that person, where he used to live. Srila Prabhupada used to live in that home. So this, in America, how we have bathrooms, right? So in this home, there was a bathtub. Generally you have bathtub and a curtain, right? Then you have curtain, you draw the curtain. So Srila Prabhupada, when first time he went to use the shower, he thought bathtub is like a bucket. So he closed that bathtub and filled the water in that. And he went first time to use the bathroom, right? To take shower. So he takes the tumbler, he stands outside the shower and starts bathing. And the lady sees all the water coming outside. See what is happening? She was shocked. You can imagine, right? I mean, nobody taught Srila Prabhupada, this is how you take shower and all. Prabhupada thought, this is how you take shower, right? And I remember Vasana Raj was saying that was actually the sign that Srila Prabhupada's Charnamrita was coming out from that, door. He said, this was a sign that this whole United States will be inundated with mercy of Srila Prabhupada. When the water was seeping out from that door of the bathroom, it was like a mercy of Srila Prabhupada flowing to inundate this whole country with Krishna consciousness. So, but yeah, it was not easy for Srila Prabhupada. We sometimes see, oh, wow, he did amazing things. But it was a whole lifetime in preparation. Even after establishing ISKCON society, even managing ISKCON society was not so easy. Actually, Srila Prabhupada at one point of time, he said if demonic people, they would have known why I have come to this country, to US, they would have killed me. Prabhupada said that. If they would have known what was my intention, why I have come to this country, what I have come to give, they would have killed me. Because demonic people, they are always averse to it. They don't want that Krishna consciousness should be people, because Krishna consciousness makes you wise. It makes you thoughtful. And that goes so much against the idea of controlling. The demonic people want to keep everyone under control. But if you become thoughtful, then you can't control people. It's highly unconducive to controlling mechanism. It wasn't easy for Srila Prabhupada to establish and manage this mission. But the devotees of the Lord, they take all the trouble simply to please, to give satisfaction to the Supreme Lord. So Srila Prabhupada took all the trouble specially to give satisfaction to the Supreme Lord and give the mercy of the Lord to all of us. If we are all sitting together here, right, we would have not known each other, right? Just imagine. How many of you would have known Shyam Jagannath Prabhu or Mataji, you know, if you would have not had this Krishna consciousness as a common factor, right? So we know each other also. We have come together, become friends with each other because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Because he established this Krishna consciousness movement. And just imagine, this is such a great shelter for all of us. If there was no Krishna consciousness, if you're living in this country, right, having your job or doing your education, it would be such a dry and life without any joy, right? Just eating, sleeping, and living the life without Krishna consciousness would be such a boring life, right? So we are so much indebted to Srila Prabhupada. And not only Srila Prabhupada, but his followers who actually struggled along with Srila Prabhupada to help him to establish this Krishna consciousness movement. There are so many warriors of Srila Prabhupada. Maybe sometime we will discuss, some of the jewels of Srila Prabhupada's movement, which many of us may not even have heard about, but they have done so much contribution to spread this Krishna consciousness. I think we'll stop here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free. Or anyone wants to add any reflection.
We have second mic here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you so much for giving us insights on Prabhupada's life. I was just wondering, how did the Prabhupada's predecessors like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur or Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Maharaj, how would they know about that there will be time when the Krishna consciousness will be outside India in the Western world? Like how they had that vision?
That is because it's mentioned in our scriptures. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted, Prithvi te ache yat nagaradigram sarvatra prachara hobe morana. So Lord Chaitanya himself proclaimed that as many towns and villages are there in all over the world, all over those places my name will be chanted. Sarvatra prachara hobe morana. So because Lord Chaitanya proclaimed, So Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew this was going to happen because Lord Chaitanya has mentioned it is going to happen. Okay. And Srila Bhaktisaranga Thakur similarly, following in the footsteps of his father and guru, he proclaimed, he knew that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of, short while it will happen. And interestingly, one of the Prabhupada disciples, Srila, his name is Atma Tattva Prabhu, he was mentioning. So, he was mentioning before he came to Krishna consciousness, he got back to Godhead magazine from somewhere. So he went and showed to his father. You see, some Swami from Bengal went to America and he actually transformed people and they are becoming Vaishnavas. And he said his father told him, well, this is already predicted in our scriptures. Not only your Bengali literatures, but this is also predicted. He said this was predicted by one of the Alvaras in Sri Sampradaya. And 50th year of Kali Yuga. That means when the Kali Yuga started more than 5,000 years ago. 5,136 years, I believe, to be precise. So when the 50 years of Kali Yuga had passed, that means little more than 5,100 years, around 100 years. That time there was one Alvar in Sri Sampradaya who had predicted that. And his father actually opened the scripture and showed him, see, this is what the Alvar had mentioned 5,000 years ago, that some great soul, some great associate of the Lord, he will come and he will spread the message of Vaishnavism. He will teach Vaishnavism to all over the world and people will be applying Gurudeva Pundar Tilak all over the world. So this was even there in 5,000. In Sri Sampradaya it was there. The prediction was there. Okay.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for taking time and explaining the details. I'm so surprised, Prabhu, at that age he came and he did this much. I can't really imagine. I'm thinking he must be the expansion of Krishna himself. He's so brave, Prabhu. Like 2 heart attacks in the ship, right? That like.
And very adamant, not giving up, right?
Yes. Yeah. How did he do, Prabhu? I mean, this much? What is that?
So in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says, Krishna Shakti Vinata Nahi Pravartan. Until his Krishna bestows his Shakti upon someone, it's not possible to achieve what Srila Prabhupada achieved. No. Not only Prabhupada, but anyone. Even sometime when the demonic people want to destroy the Vedic culture, or the teachings of Vaishnavism, they have to be empowered by Krishna only. They cannot do it alone. It's actually very interesting. If you read the scriptures, you will know if anyone is able to do anything extraordinary, whether good or bad, either way, is actually empowered by Krishna. So, for example, in Bhavishya Purana, it explains. So, Kali Yuga started 5,000 years ago, right? So, almost 2,000 years later, the kings of Agni Vamsha, they had spread this Krishna consciousness again all over the world. So, the whole world was actually following Vaishnavism and strict principles. This is in Kali Yuga. So, Kali, the same Kali that we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Parishit Maharaj, Sri Parishit Maharaj, he actually confronted him, right? So same Kali, he actually went to Jagannath Puri and he started performing tapasya to please Krishna. This is there in Bhavishya Purana. So, Lord Krishna, being pleased with his austerities, gave him darshan to Kali. And Kali expressed, my dear Lord, this is my age, but I see that Vedic teachings are being propagated all over the world, and the kings who are actually belong to Agni Vamsha, they are, creating havoc. My rule is being destroyed. Kali means there should be more and more quarrels, hypocrisy, no following dharma. Adharma should be more prominent. So he said, people are following dharma all over the world. How can my age will be, how can I rule this age? So Lord Krishna said, don't worry. Soon, my expansions will appear in Malaysia kingdom, and they will destroy the kings of Agni Vamsha. So all these, foreign inventors who came in to invent India, like Muhammad Ghori or all those people, they were actually empowered by Krishna to come, invade, and destroy the culture. Because Kali Yuga, please Krishna, right? My Lord, I want to, rule this kingdom, so please. The Lord said, okay, you will rule for some time. But now, again, when this actually happens, according to astrological calculation, it happens in the cycles of 120 years. Okay? 120. So all this, calculation, if you see, even up to Satyuga's duration, Dwapar, Treta, Kali Yuga's, duration, that happens in the multiples of 120 years. Or more precisely, actually, multiples of 60 years. It's called Samvatsara. Samvatsara means the cycle of 60 years. So because every year is named after 60. There are 60 names for every year. So those keep, changing, keep turning over. So this Vatsara, the current year, also has some name in Vedic astrology. So there are 60 Samvatsaras. So they happen to, when 2 cycles of 60 Samvatsara happen, that becomes 120 years. So every age, even in Satyuga, though it is for 4,32,000 years, and Kali Yuga is actually 4,32,000, and Dwapara double, Treta is 3 times, and Satyuga is 4.32 billion years, right? 4 times of that. So all those periods are again calculated in the terms of 120 years snippets. So 120 years period is called Kali Yuga, small Kali Yuga period. Okay, the double of that will be Dwapar period. 3 times of that will be Treta period. 4 times of that will be actually Satyuga period. So 480 years. So if you combine all 4 together, it's 1200 years. So this Satyuga, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, small samples you will see. What happens in Satyuga, what happens in Treta, what happens in Dwapar, and what happens in Kali Yuga in the cycle of 1200 years. Okay. So every 1200 years you will see the cycle going on. So the cycle of Kali Yuga actually ended, that 120 years ended in 2000. So from there onwards, the next 480 years is supposed to be again what you see in Satyuga happening, that you will get to see in next 400 years. Okay. So this happens. So therefore some saintly people come, but when again Kali Yuga will be prominent, again after almost 1100 years, you will again see same cycle come up. Again all the teachings of Vedas will be completely eradicated, and people will become completely dull-headed, like they were 100 years ago. They will become like that. So this keeps happening, cycle keeps happening. So if somebody is able to destroy or somebody is able to propagate the teachings of Vedas, both have to be empowered by Krishna. Nobody can do on their own. It takes a lot of effort. And people have their passion, right? Somebody wants to destroy also the culture. It's also passion. They have their passion, right? So they pray to Krishna, Krishna, please make me destroy it. I want to destroy. So Krishna empowers them. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So therefore, when we read the scriptures, we understand. We don't become hateful to people like Aurangzeb or Hitler or all these people you get to. You know that they are empowered to do some destruction. They have mercy of Krishna to destroy. Of course, they will have their karmic reaction for that also, but that's what they want. Make sense?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for such an informative and insightful class. I was just curious to know what happened to Prabhupada's family. Did they become Krishna conscious? Because such a great soul like Srila Prabhupada who was able to convince the entire world and spread the word, why did he give up on his family so quickly? I'm just wondering.
In order to benefit the world, saintly persons do that. They leave their family, right, to benefit the broader family of the world. Right? So they see the whole world as their family, not just their own family. And as far as Srila Prabhupada's family, yes, I think a couple of the sons of Srila Prabhupada, they took sannyas, and one of his sons is actually sannyasi. He's in touch of ISKCON, and they are working collaboratively in Kolkata, especially establishing Prabhupada's birthplace and all the holy places where Srila Prabhupada lived. So Kolkata is becoming actually one of the very major holy tirtha now for our Gaudiya Vaishnavism. When you go next time to Kolkata, you will see all those places where Srila Prabhupada actually lived and where he was born. All those places are there now. So his son actually helped to establish all those. But he realized the contribution of his father to the whole world. Yeah, the family is taken care of. Krishna says to even Prahlad Maharaj, right? Your 21 generations are liberated. Of course, Srila Prabhupada's family will definitely be taken care of by Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I have a question. When we talk about Unheard, are they disciples of Sri Ramanuja or they are disciples of Shankaracharya? Because when we go back in the history, Shankaracharya was the one who kind of revived Hinduism and established Shakti Peeths across the world, across India, and he kind of brought back our Vedic culture and he resurrected Hinduism, is what everyone says.
Yeah. So both had their own contribution. Okay. Ramanuja Acharya had his contribution to establish the principle of Vaishnavism. But Sripad Shankaracharya, his main contribution was to eradicate atheism, Buddhism, from all over India. Because Buddhism is more or less atheism. They don't accept the Veda, they don't accept scriptures. So, and of course they don't believe in any God. They accept Buddha as God, who is actually, again, incarnation of Vishnu. But their philosophy is very much, what you call, atheism, non-believers. So that was taking roots in India. So in order to drive that away, Shankaracharya appeared. And his prime focus was to eradicate Buddhism. Okay. So for that he did some manipulation because it was not easy for Shankaracharya to eradicate, because Buddhism is Lord Vishnu, he established Buddhism, right? Vishnu, Krishna has established Buddhism in the form of Buddha. So to eradicate that, it's not going to be easy job. So Lord Shankara, he did eradicate it, but he had to twist and turn the meaning of the Vedas a lot. So his explanations on the Vedic literature is actually not genuine. It's twisted and turned many places. Like he said in one place, and commenting on Vedanta Sutra, he said, Vyas Brahmit, that Lord Vyasdev is actually confused at this stage while writing this statement, because he cannot justify that particular statement, what principle he was trying to conclude. Shankaracharya's philosophy was that ultimately God is without any form, because that's what Buddhism said. So people who are engraved with that God doesn't have any form, there is no form. We don't have any form, God doesn't have any form. People who are very much engraved with that idea. So Shankaracharya had to come and say, yeah, this is there in Vedas only. Buddha has stolen from Vedas. This is there in Vedas. Actually, you don't have any form, I don't have any form, God doesn't have any form. This formlessness, voidism is actually there in Vedas. But you cannot justify that. The Vedas does not support that. So he had to twist and turn the meaning of the Vedas in order to establish the authority of Vedas. So his only job was to establish the Vedas back. Explanation of Vedas are not genuine by him. And that you will find in the Vedic scriptures also. Shankara, Lord Shiva is telling Parvati, that Lord Vishnu has instructed me that in Kali Yuga I should appear, and in order to remove the atheism and Buddhism, I should twist and turn the meaning of the Vedas. So, therefore, Shankaracharya, his prime focus was to establish the authority of Vedas. Then, we have Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya, they all came to reveal the true meaning of the Vedas. What the Vedas actually explain is the Vaishnavism. Yeah? So that was established by, later on, Ramanujacharya, Nimbarkacharya, Vishnu Swami and Madhvacharya. They are the four acharyas who established the real meaning of the Vedas. And of course, ultimately Lord Chaitanya came and he taught the Achintya Veda Vedic philosophy. The topmost teachings of the Vedas were revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, the Alvars, who were actually more or less Vaishnavas, Shankaracharya, he more supported the impersonalism. But again, as I said, his focus was not to preach the authority of Vedas, but his main focus was to establish the authority of Vedas. People should accept Vedas as ultimate authority. And that's what he did. He did an excellent job in that. You cannot do all the things together, right? Like even in our Krishna, when somebody comes, very first day, don't tell him, no eating, no gum, no intoxication, no tea, no coffee, no mushroom, none. You don't tell him everything, right? First, no, don't worry, just chant Hare Krishna. I'm eating meat, no problem, eat meat. Just chant Hare Krishna. Right? So Shankaracharya, that's what he did. He established the authority of Vedas, and then Ramanujacharya comes, Madhvacharya comes, and they establish the real teachings of the Vedas. Make sense?
Thank you.
Very. Yes?
When other disciples weren't able to spread the word of Krishna consciousness and weren't able to convince the outsiders to become a devotee of Krishna, how was Prabhupada able to do it?
Wow, that's a very beautiful question. Thank you for asking this beautiful question. Yeah. You have to read Leelamrit for that. But I'll nevertheless tell. Srila Prabhupada had firm faith in the holy name of Krishna. So when he came from Butler, Pennsylvania to New York City, all he did was he went down and sat under a tree in a park. That place has become a holy place. It's called Tompkins Square Park in New York City. Srila Prabhupada sat under a tree and all he did was chanted Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So simply sitting under a tree, he continued chanting this for hours. Prabhupada would do that. And people started coming. All these American boys and girls, they started coming and they were hearing, because the chanting was done by a pure devotee, and without any selfish motives, it was done. So people got naturally attracted. And chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when especially done with sincerity and purity, it can attract everyone. So even if you just go and sit down, under some tree in a city, and start chanting Hare Krishna, you will see some people will get attracted. Because the name of Krishna is so potent. So Srila Prabhupada, that's all he did. He sat down under a tree, hundreds of young boys and girls started assembling there, hearing from him the holy name. And people, when they hear Hare Krishna Mahamantra, their heart becomes soft. Even though they were meat eaters, they were drunkards, woman hunters, gamblers, but when they heard chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, their heart started becoming soft. That's the impact of the holy name, especially when sung by a pure devotee of the Lord. So then people started inquiring from him, okay, tell us more, what we should do. And slowly and gradually, it didn't happen again overnight. Prabhupada would go and sit under a tree and chant for hours every day. And people would actually come. They would come and hear the holy name, and slowly and gradually their hearts were transformed. And then they actually started taking this message, going all over the streets, singing the same Hare Krishna. That's what they did. They also went on the streets and they chanted Hare Krishna Mahamant. And people who got to hear them, they also got transformed. So Srila Prabhupada, he did exactly what Lord Chaitanya did. When Lord Chaitanya went to South India on the tour, so Lord Chaitanya on the streets of, South India, he would just chant. He would chant the names of Krishna. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. So when people were hearing this, in South India they were getting transformed. And then they would go and tell, and there are other people in other villages. And by hearing them, those people were getting transformed. So Srila Prabhupada did exactly the same thing what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. And that's what transformed people's life. He didn't go and tell them initially, oh, you shouldn't eat meat, you can become Brahmin. Don't worry about becoming Brahmin. Just chant Hare Krishna. And that worked. Okay. Make sense?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. We are short on time, but I think we can probably have much longer conversation if you like. Probably maybe during Prashadam we can continue the conversation. We also have a plan to have Kahoot quiz. I think we have been attending many sessions. One Kahoot quiz was due, so we will try doing that. But before that, let us express our gratitude to Shankaranand Prabhu by loudly chanting Haribol 3 times again with all our hearts and gratitude. Haribol! 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 The story of Srila Prabhupada is extraordinary. When I requested Prabhuji, he said, we won't be able to cover the whole thing in one session. And I agree. There are 7 books about the the life of Srila Prabhupada. We will eventually maybe have another session speaking about the extraordinary achievements of Srila
And a lot is
Prabhupada.
not covered in those books. A lot is not covered.
So those 7 books are also not sufficient, is what Prabhuji is saying. So we will all stand up now. We will do Gauranga Nityananda, stretch ourselves up, maybe take some water and come back, and we'll attempt the quiz, and then maybe do one short kirtan, and then go for Prashadam, hopefully by 8ish or so. Is it okay? Okay, so we do this to stretch ourselves. So try reaching the ceiling as you do this. So this side we'll do Gauranga and this side we'll do Nityananda. So this is how it will go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Gauranga!
Nityananda!
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 Gauranga!
Okay, so if you need water, please drink it and come back. We will have the quiz will be here, the QR code will be here shortly.